Chetan. With me is Derek. Say hi to the
Hello.
folks, Derek. And who's our
Hi.
guest today, Derek?
I think it's Chris today.
It's so rare that I have an opportunity to do such a thing.
Yes. And Derek's in the intro today.
Ooh,
Yes.
Yes.
nice.
So so you're one of us now. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
One of us. One of us.
Yeah.
Now you get to enjoy the lucrative money that we make doing this.
Yes.
Ooh, lucrative money.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think you owe me $30.
Oh, crap.
And you owe me a coffee.
Well, 30 bucks in a cough. Might be able to swing that.
Okay.
So Chris, what are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about Saturday morning cartoons.
Ooh.
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 And we should preface this with something and say that I think we should specifically stay on topic of Saturday morning cartoons as opposed to like
Weekdays and all that stuff.
yeah, like and according to my sources, Saturday morning cartoons sort of ended in the mid 90s.
Yes, they did. Yes.
So
And even
anything
around, yeah.
like there's Saturday morning cartoon, like we can maybe talk about the stuff that's come afterwards. Like a good example is Teen Titans Go. It was definitely a Saturday morning cartoon, but it never actually played in a Saturday morning setting.
No, same thing with
Right.
G.I. Joe and Transformers. It played like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, where it didn't play on Saturday mornings.
Sure, you're right. So, from what I remember, I would watch it in the
Yeah.
weekdays.
No, because I remember
Absolutely.
rushing home to watch those cartoons, after
Yeah,
Same.
yeah.
school. So Saturday morning cartoons. What's the first cartoon do you remember? Or yeah, what's the first cartoon do you guys remember from Saturday morning cartoons?
I can tell you what the first Saturday morning cartoon ever was.
Was it Space Ghost?
No, it was called Crusader
No,
Rabbit.
Crusader
Oh,
Rabbit. Never
Yep.
heard
And
of
it
that.
was produced in 1940s, like late 1940s. And it was the first cartoon ever produced specifically for TV.
Oh
huh.
wow. I didn't think Saturday morning cartoons went that far back. I thought it was 60s to 90s, late 60s to 90s.
So, I mean, that was the first one. And then but then the thing that sort of birthed Saturday morning cartoons a lot was around the 1950s. I think it was Paramount, the studio that might have done it, was they sort of stopped playing cartoons in theaters. Like they wanted to get away from doing that, doing the shorts during
Oh,
in theaters. And so then television was sort of coming to its own. So they sort of started moving the shorts to television instead. And Saturday morning was one of their sort of first big things. So the first cartoon was in the 40s, but the sort of real first, what people call Saturday morning cartoons, is generally in the late 50s, early 60s.
oh, good.
Okay.
So
Cool.
personally, what would you say is the first or one of the earliest cartoons you remember watching on Saturday mornings?
I'll let Derek go first.
Oh, dear. Okay. First ones that stick out in my head was Smurfs,
Yes.
Spider-Man and his
Yes.
Amazing Friends, and briefly The Incredible Hulk. That was actually like a Marvel hour, I remember. Like there was
Yes, I
Spider-Man and
do.
Hulk
Yes.
cartoons.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scooby Doo is a big one for me. Like that was, I think, ran throughout. And I have to say, and I have to say this because my wife made me promise when I told her what the topic was, Schoolhouse Rock.
Yes, because
Yes.
they had the breaks in between that Schoolhouse Rock breaks in between the
Yeah.
cartoons. Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
that was, yeah, she told me, she said, "You guys gonna talk about Schoolhouse Rock then?" And I was like,
Okay,
I don't know. And you better mention it. So
thank Allison for the suggestion on that because I forgot about that. Schoolhouse Rock, yeah, they had the in between breaks, in between the cartoons all the time. And that was
Conjunction
very popular.
Junction, all that.
Yeah, yeah,
I actually have the entire
Constitution.
series
Yeah.
on DVD.
Do you? Do you? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Now, one I remember is now I now I'm trying to again memory's going, but Johnny Quest was on Saturday
Yeah,
mornings, right? Yeah, I
definitely.
remember Johnny
Reruns
Quest.
at least.
Reruns at
something.
least.
Yeah,
For some
yeah.
reason,
Yeah.
Johnny.
in my area, it was Sunday mornings for Johnny Quest. Like there was a Hanna-Barbera block on Sunday
Mhm.
mornings.
Yeah, they had that Space Ghost, and what was the other one? Was it uh
Oh,
Thunder or something like that? Was it? It was a no, that's a Johnny Quest character, I think.
Yeah, I know the one
like
with
Thunder the
glue. What was his
Barbarian?
name?
No, Thunder.
I know Alex Toth designed it
Yes,
Yes.
that's it. Yes, that's it. Yes, because he did a
because
lot
Alex
of
Toth
those. I
designed
mean,
all of our things.
all
Also the Super Friends.
Super
Oh
Friends. Yes, that was. Oh yeah, that was definitely. And being a comic geek, oh, that just loved it. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah. I mean,
and
associating it with comic books, would you say that Super Friends sort of did it justice, or do you think that they sort of made fun of it?
I think they did justice because you know what, as a comic book reader and watching say Green Lantern, Superman, or Flash or Wonder Woman, they were accurate.
Yeah,
They didn't change the costume, they didn't change who they were in real identities and stuff. They made them comic book accurate. They're fun shows.
Yeah, and
yeah,
given the era, I think Super Friends kind of predates that mature, grim and gritty look in the comics, so a little bit. I could
yep.
be wrong, but like I don't remember the comics, like a few comics were a little dark at that point, but I don't remember Justice League being super dark in the Super Friends era.
No, no.
No, I think the Super Friends. I think that came out in the '60s originally. Was it the '60s or '70s?
I think it was
Late
Maybe, but it
'60s.
'60s.
went on a
Yeah,
long time though.
yeah, it
Yeah,
did.
they
Yeah,
reran it like crazy too.
yeah, because they changed the name to Superpowers afterwards, I think.
Yeah,
Right. It wasn't that the superpowers episodes were very heavy dark side episodes,
Dark
were
Side
they
and
not?
all those, yeah, when they changed over, I guess, what the comics were doing and stuff like that. So they switched over to Kirby, New God stuff.
Right.
and they also had the Wonder Twins. The Wonder Twins came in later because
Yes,
at first there was the
Yes.
dog. It was that dog and the two kids, just the two sort of wacky kids.
Marvin, Wendy,
Marvin and
and Wonder
Wendy.
Dog, and
Yeah,
Wonder Dog.
and the Wonder Dog. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then they changed it over to the Wonder Twins afterwards. So it had quite a run, I guess. I wonder how many seasons it was.
oh,
I
must have been
think
at least 7, 8 seasons at least.
about, yeah, between all the incarnations, there was probably a good, like Chetan said, like 7, 8 year run consistently.
And do you
Yeah,
remember in Super Friends they were? I mean, this is when trying to be politically correct. They had the Japanese samurai. They had the Apache chief. They had, trying to, go with the every cultural stereotypes.
yeah.
Yeah.
But they would always be visiting, wouldn't they? Like they would always be like sort of visiting, like, oh, and our friend from Japan is visiting,
Yeah, that's it.
samurai
Yes.
guy or something like that. But they're all
Now,
comic book based, aren't they? Those were characters that were actually in the comic books at some point. I don't
I
know
don't
which came
think so.
first.
I don't think so. I think Apache Chief and Samurai and Wonder Twins, I think they were created for the cartoon. Same thing with
Hmm.
Wendy and Marvin. I think they
Yeah,
were
Wendy and
think,
Marvin definitely were. The idea of that was to make it so kids could relate to the superheroes.
yeah.
right.
No, but I think they were created for the cartoon.
I think
Hmm.
the exception, I want to say Black Vulcan may have been based on Black Lightning.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, yes. I forgot about him. Yes.
Um,
Yes.
I'm not sure if I can't remember if there was like a legal
Could
thing
be
or
a legal situation. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if the what creator rights were like back then, or maybe comic book companies too. Like, because at the time, a lot of characters they were still acquiring. DC and Marvel were still acquiring stuff,
That's
so
it.
maybe that was an
Yes.
outside thing.
yeah. Um, but yeah, I'm trying to remember if it was a creator dispute because Black Lightning I remember is created by Tony Isabella and he's had his disputes with
Yes, he wanted
Marvel and
ownership on that,
DC.
right? Yeah, he wanted
Yeah.
ownership on that. So I'm wondering if maybe that's why they changed the name so that they could get away with using that character, but not really using it, type of
Yeah.
thing.
Right.
Now, one
That's
cartoon you
great.
mentioned, hate to say it, I mean, my brother and sister, we watched it like religiously with Smurfs.
Yes. Smurfs was always one that watched for a lot of years. And
Yeah.
it's funny, my mother-in-law actually told me about how she remembered seeing Smurfs. My mother-in-law immigrated from Switzerland in the late 70s, came to Canada probably about 50 years now. But she remembered where she came from, drawings and comic strips of Smurfs before the cartoon made it to North America.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Oh
a French
yes,
book
yes, the history.
originally.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been yeah, before it came
If
over
we've
this
talked
way.
we've talked European comic books here in the past, and that's definitely
Yes.
I think it started as a comic strip book in Europe before it was the show. So
Yeah.
Les Schtroumpfs.
Now, let me ask you one thing. Do you remember as a kid, as a whatever, 12-year-old, 13-year-old, they used to do on TV because at that time we didn't have internet, we didn't have anything like that. They used to do preview nights of what's coming on Saturday nights, Saturday morning
Yes.
cartoons. Do you remember that? Like 2 weeks before or something, they would have a preview night, and all of us
Yeah.
stuck to the TV watching that, saying, "Hey, what's the new cartoons coming on? When's this coming out?"
Yep.
Yep.
You know the strange thing about Saturday morning cartoons too, when you think about that, like there's this level of fandom where like, you get a trailer two years before a movie comes out or even a TV show. But I couldn't tell you what order the cartoons came on Saturday mornings when I watched them. And I couldn't tell you if they were consistent because I just sat down.
Yeah,
I
same
didn't care
here.
what was on. I
Yeah.
didn't care, what was coming. I just sort of like, it's Saturday morning. I sat down and I hope it's not Davy and Goliath.
Oh, yeah. Or Rockin' Robin Hood.
I love Rocket Robin Hood.
A Rocket Robin Hood, that in the Hercules show. Didn't
Hercules,
see it
yes.
at home, didn't see it at home, but anytime I'd go up north to visit my grandparents as a kid, those were always the cartoons after Saturday morning, like at
They
lunchtime
were. And the
on, and that
sad
was
thing was,
something.
when you had, I no insult to anyone who created those cartoons and stuff. When you had some of the cooler cartoons, you turn off the TV and go, okay, I've been sitting on this couch for 4 hours watching this. Now I don't want to
Not
watch this
me.
stuff.
Nope. I totally watched them. I loved them. And
No,
you
no,
want to know
I,
something?
I,
Both of those, Canadian.
yes, yes. Even Hercules was Canadian and Robin Hood, and yeah,
I think wasn't the 60s Spider-Man cartoon, like weren't
they
they
were.
done
I
by the
think
same?
that, yeah, yeah, I think so. Yeah, by the same
Yeah.
studio that did Rocket Robin Hood, I think.
Yeah, I remember the later seasons of the Spider-Man actually spliced in episodes of Rocket Robin Hood because of
I
budget
heard
crunches.
that. Yes, the backgrounds and stuff like that. I've heard that.
Yeah. Actually, a lot of Saturday morning cartoons that we watched were actually made in Canada. Nelvana, they did Inspector Gadget, they did Care Bears, they did like a lot of our Saturday morning cartoon stuff was done in Canada.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
I have friends who worked on them all.
Oh
Now
nice.
Saturday mo So let me ask you this: Saturday morning cartoons. What time did you wake up to get ready for it?
Yeah, sometimes it was ridiculous. And they
It
always,
was.
I remember the early morning one, like if you got up really early, you get things like the cheesy Rambo cartoon, and it wouldn't get to like the
Yes.
good stuff until later.
Later,
Yeah.
yes. But the worst part was, and here's the funny thing now as a parent, you woke up at 6 in the morning or 7 in the morning to sit down, you wouldn't even have, like Chris joked about having a bowl of cereal ready for this episode. You got ready to watch the cartoons, but no alarm clock, nothing. But when you have to go to school, they have to wake you up.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it was a routine. It was just like every Saturday morning, woke up at this time, got ready, sat down, and next thing you know, 4 hours passed right away.
Yep.
So did you guys, when you watch Saturday morning cartoons, like I remember I would watch them in Toronto, and we used to get them from Buffalo sometimes, and they'd have like the
Yes,
host,
yes,
Commander Tom,
yes. I
Yep.
was
remember that.
host.
Yes,
And
yes,
from what I've heard, a lot of people had that. Like it was fairly common
yeah,
for local stations to have different hosts. I remember
yeah.
Commander Tom used to be the weatherman too at
I
the
do remember him. And what was the one with the werewolf and all that stuff? Remember they had
remember the
Fantasy Fader or something?
I don't remember
Hmm.
that one.
It was
No,
I
like a
remember the.
werewolf and stuff and things like that, and they would host cartoons.
I don't remember that one.
oh
All I
Okay, I'll
can
have
think
to
of
look
with
it up.
werewolves is the Frankenstein, the House of Frankenstein. What is it? The hilarious House of Frankenstein? That
Yeah,
TV
but
show. There was that live action thing.
no, I don't remember that. Oh, House of
not that one.
Frankenstein. Yes, yes, yes,
It
yes.
was like a comedy show, but there was like a
Yeah,
vampire and a
that's
wolf
it.
man. The
Yeah.
wolf man was a DJ.
Oh, maybe that's what I'm thinking
Okay,
of.
starting to ring a bit of a
No, no,
bell.
no. That's what I'm thinking of. Yes.
So that was the
He had this
hilarious
he
House of
had the 70,
Frankenstein.
70s high collar shirt on and everything.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
That's it.
You can
Okay.
go on YouTube and watch like all of those.
Yes. But
Yeah.
see, that's one thing, we're gonna show our age now and fist to the young kids and stuff like that. You know, that was the thing where, you had to wake up to watch it. Otherwise, you woke up early, watched all of this stuff, you'd watch it for the in-between breaks, like you said, Schoolhouse Rock, all of this. Now the only problem is they don't have kids now don't have a reason to get up early. They could watch it anytime on YouTube.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or a streaming service. I think the closest in 21st century, when my daughter was little baby, we ended up changing TV services, which meant a new TV lineup. So the Saturday morning, we actually first time I ever had Cartoon Network, and there was like a sat like there was like it was Cartoon Network, so cartoons ran all the time, but there was a block on Saturday morning that had a couple of shows I enjoyed in this age, like Symbionic Titan, and the guy that made Samurai Jack.
Yeah.
That was one of those, oh, I can get up early for this. But once noon hit, there were still cartoons, but it was like, oh, okay. Cartoons I'm not interested in anymore.
Yeah.
Now, one thing, it doesn't fall in the cartoon category, but it was part of Saturday mornings. I remember when they had um, ISIS, was it Captain Marvel, Shazam, and what was the other show? ISIS and those type of shows. Remember?
Like the live action ones?
Live action ones. Yes.
Vaguely remember those. There was
A
a
little,
Dinah Girl. What was that? Oh, I
That
also
was
remember
later
they used.
on. Yeah.
Yeah. I also remember they used to rerun like Greatest American Hero sometimes on Saturday mornings.
I don't remember that. No, I remember the show, but I remember just watching that when it came on in the evenings and stuff, not on Saturday mornings. No.
Yeah, I'm a little younger than you, and so I used to get reruns. So I think they used to put them on
Okay.
Saturday mornings sometimes.
In the background, I'm gonna pull up a list of Saturday morning cartoons. Okay.
I was gonna say networks started putting cartoons in the afternoons instead. Like Disney would have a block, like they call like the
Yes.
Disney afternoon and stuff like that.
Okay.
So
So from Saturday morning cartoons by decade, 1960s, the Flintstones. Of course, everyone remember, but I remember Flintstones mostly during lunchtime at during the weekdays.
and
yeah,
Um,
same.
Flintstones premiered as Flintstones was the first nighttime cartoon. Like it was prime time. It wasn't morning Saturday
Yeah,
morning
I
when it
don't. I
first
don't
came out.
remember it. I don't remember it in the mornings. No. Then the other
Yeah,
one is Top Cat, Secret Squirrel, the Jetsons. I forgot about the Jetsons, and we forgot the biggest one, Bugs Bunny and Roadrunner Hour.
yeah.
Right.
We forgot that. That's a big one.
But a lot of those were based on shorts that were played in theaters originally.
Yes, what you mentioned. Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
so
especially
they
like the
weren't
Bugs Bunny
specifically
and all.
designed.
No, and especially on the 60s. Now 70s, and this is one I haven't seen in years. Hong Kong Phooey,
Yeah.
Hmm.
Speed Buggy, and here's
Oh
another
yeah, I
one
love
which
Speed
I
Buggy.
mean. Yeah, and Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids. I remember watching that like crazy.
Yep.
And then Super Friends. And in the 80s, they had the Smurfs, Muppet Babies, Garfield and Friends, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Sure.
That's
Okay.
interesting. And here's one which I remember watching it but never got into it was Mask.
I
It's like
Oh,
a
remember it didn't stick out to me like Transformers and G.I. Joe
no, it
did.
didn't. It didn't. I think it was trying to compete with those type of things. for a Saturday morning slot, and it never. I don't think it ever took off.
Well, that's
I
the
mean,
other thing we could talk about Saturday morning cartoons was in the 80s. It was, I think, Ronald Reagan lifted the laws about advertising or created laws about advertising towards kids. And that's when TV shows, and particularly Saturday morning cartoons, were affected because they started advertising toys. So that's when you started getting like your He-Man, your Mask.
He-Man,
They were toy brands that they just
they
basically
were.
said, okay, make this a cartoon.
That's it.
Yep.
Yeah. Now
So
they
that
mentioned one Saturday morning cartoon here, but I don't remember it Saturday mornings. I remember it like coming home from school and stuff. Thundercats.
Yeah, that one I remember like it was an after school,
After school thing.
like it
That's what
was
I
before
remember.
like the I
Yeah.
remember it before G.I. Joe and Transformers,
yeah.
but it was like within that 90-minute like block there. That was a
Some
great
people sort of
block.
describe cartoons made for television as Saturday morning cartoons, even if they weren't really part of the Saturday morning line, I think.
Yeah.
You know, that's because yeah, I would definitely describe Thundercats as and Thundercats, G.I. Joe, and Transformers. They have the feel of like they could have played on Saturday morning, but they generally I watched them after school. And Flintstones was lunchtime. You go home from lunch and you watch
Yes.
the Flintstones. But of course,
Yep.
we're all from the same area, so we had the same programming.
That's
So
it.
it could be
Yes.
that, like, other parts of the world. But I know the Flintstones for a fact started it was the first primetime cartoon show ever.
It
And I
makes
think the
sense.
Jetsons was too at first.
Yeah, Jetsons lasted a long, long time.
Yeah. But Jetsons was they played it at night. Like it was an evening, like The Simpsons and like Family Guy and stuff like that. Like Jetsons and Flintstones, the idea was it was an adult cartoon. But eventually just sort of because people's brains say if it's a cartoon, it must be for kids. And so they
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
switched it over.
Now here's one that they mentioned on the list, and I don't remember it on Saturday mornings, but I remember the cartoon, the Pink Panther.
I could maybe early, like it would have been one of those things like, when Rambo was on or like at 5 a.m. or
Yeah.
something like that. They might have played some Pink Panther shorts.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
there.
pre the block, like pre the Saturday morning block. I remember that was maybe if the Saturday morning block started at 8, maybe if my memory's serving, Pink Panther was like 7:30. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
like
Now,
I could be
Derek, here.
wrong.
Now, Derek, here's one for you, which I don't remember when it came on, but I watched it and could never get into it because it was a cheap version. GoBots.
Okay. Um I remember a few episodes, but yeah, I think you're right. Like I was aware of GoBots, but being more of a Transformers fan, it
Rip off.
was yeah, it was kind of it was on, but I didn't have as much invested in it as I did Transformers.
Yeah. Yeah. I think GoBots might have been a Saturday morning thing too, though. I think Transformers was weekdays and GoBots was weekends.
You might be right on that.
Yeah, that's my memory sort of puts it there. I watched it a couple times too, but I couldn't tell you what even the overarching story was on that. Whereas Transformers, I could tell you, I could name episodes, but GoBots, I couldn't even tell you the
No,
overarching
same here.
story of who
Same
they
here.
are.
Because you know what? We watched them because it was on and nothing else was on, but otherwise, you didn't really care about them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, one they mentioned here, and I don't remember the cartoon. Chris and I talked about this in our previous episode, Adventures of Tintin. They say it was on Saturday mornings, but I don't
I
remember
don't
seeing that here.
I don't remember seeing it here on Saturday mornings, but I do remember
No.
that was one of those things I would see at the local, like more northern channels in like Aurelia, again, where my grandparents were from. That was like on their global affiliate at like 3 in the afternoon, kind of a cartoon
Yeah.
to shut us kids up.
Yeah.
Now, two
I could see
cartoons
it
they
being a
mentioned,
Saturday morning cartoon though. It
Yeah,
works.
two cartoons they mentioned here, and I do remember them on Saturdays: Star Trek and Flash Gordon. I remember seeing the animated series. I remember showing I remember maybe it was late mornings they showed that.
Yeah. There was also the Beatles cartoon and there was that I keep forgetting the name of it. And I probably should have looked it up, but there was that one about the Wizard of Oz, but it was after it was sort of it
You
wasn't like
mentioned
just
that,
the
yeah.
I
story of the Wizard of Oz, but I forget the name of it. I have a
oh
bunch of friends that will yell at me because they love this show. It was like
And
super popular.
and I
yeah, I
just saw
think I remember the one you're talking about.
Okay, we have to look that one up. We have to look that. Now, one they just mentioned here on the list, and I remember watching it, and I completely forgot. They used to have a Spider Woman cartoon.
Yes.
Yeah,
I don't
remember that?
remember it on Saturday morning, but it was again another Aurelius story. It was actually at a video store nearby, again, my grandparents' house, and that was one of those rent a few videos for the she had my grandmother had a Betamax, but it was hard getting Betamax tapes. But that was
Yeah.
one of the few at that
Yeah.
store that was Betamax. So it was just a couple of Spider-Woman episodes, and up until that point, I wasn't aware that there was a Spider-Woman.
A woman, yeah.
And
Which
Yeah.
was odd choice to do a cartoon for, honestly. You know.
I think it was one of those like She-Hulk. It was one of those get it out there before someone that's not Stanley copyrights it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also think licensing your smaller characters is easier than licensing your bigger
The
characters.
big game, yes. Now, two cartoons I saw on the list here. Now, one of them I remember on Saturday mornings, and the other one I remember at late. I don't know if it was Saturday mornings. Robotech and G-Force.
Mhm.
Robotech, I remember. I think it was like Saturday morning, but maybe like it hit at lunch. Like it was
And
right after like a network's block.
Robotech was one of those cartoons. I mean, as an older, older artist, I appreciate it now. As a kid, I thought it was boring.
Yeah. It's a hard one for like an
Yeah,
8-year-old to sit through.
that's it. Yes. But as an adult, I could watch it. But as a kid, no, it was just there's too much going on in there that, you wanted
Too
that
much
quick action,
going
quick,
on.
yeah.
And if I remember some of those animes, Voltron was the same way.
Voltron, that's another one. Yes.
There'd be
Yes.
chunks missing because they didn't want the mature content going through. So you'd sometimes have entire episodes missing. Voltron used to trip me up because it'd be like 20, 30 odd episodes of the Lion Voltron and
Yes.
then another, and then just out of the blue, it was the vehicle Voltron. And I couldn't, and on that like Saturday or Sunday morning, whenever it aired, like it was never like I never remembered them in any kind of chronological order. So
But one I watched religiously and I remember I was impressed by was G-Force. And what's the Japanese name of it? I forgot.
Gatchaman? Is it Gatchaman?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I have to look it up. But G-Force, I remember that. I when I watched it, because the animation style was completely different than what we saw in North American style, and that's what first impressed me. And the colors and everything were vibrant. We're just like, wow. And the story was simple. It was like superheroes. I mean, that's what I liked about. Unlike Robotech, where it was just like space opera or space wars or something. It just for an 8-year-old, it was too complicated.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of the Robotech stuff and everything seemed like a film that was chopped up into little bits. And as Derek was
That's
saying,
it.
the
Yes.
continuity wasn't there. So you're sort of, it's like you're watching parts, just scenes from a movie, not really a show.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, they mentioned one cartoon here, and sad news from yesterday, Chuck Norris cartoon.
I remember that.
I remember
Yeah.
watching that. Yeah, I remember watching that. And
And there
I
was
mean,
like a
he
Mr.
passed.
T. There was Mr. T.
Yes,
The
Mr.
first,
I
T.
remember
Yes,
Mr. T
Mr. T.
cartoon more.
Yes, Mr. T. I remember that. Yes.
there's also the Pac-Man cartoon, which was apparently the first one of the first big licenses that they
I
really,
do remember Pac-Man. Yes.
yeah, which is really weird if you think about it. You wrote an entire story about a yellow blob that eats pellets. And it's crazy that you can do more than 2 episodes about that. The other thing that we didn't mention is Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Yes.
Yes, right. Yes. Yes. But that was
That
in
was a
Saturday
big one.
morning. I don't remember that in Saturday mornings.
I think they might have been sometimes on Saturday mornings, but not
Not
consistently.
always.
The
Now,
interesting thing too that we don't talk about is the lack of Disney cartoons.
yes. Yeah. What they had DuckTales and what
That's
was it?
later. That's a
Oh,
little bit
that's later.
later.
Yes. You're right. That's later. Yes, lack of Disney cartoon. Even the Mickey Mouse stuff and things like that because my kids were watching those, but that was much later and after that in the 2000s.
But it's
So that was
amazing.
much
Like
later.
like Warner Brothers, they took their feature film shorts and they put them on Saturday mornings. Disney had a lot of feature film
A lot of
shorts.
it,
Like they
but
were
they
making
never
shorts
do
before,
anything. Yeah.
but they
And I
never released
remember,
them on Saturday morning. So there's a whole generation that really doesn't know the
no,
Disney shorts unless they have them on DVD or collecting them. So it's kind of interesting.
I mean,
Yeah.
Warner Brothers, I remember watching like crazy religiously all the, you know, uh, Daffy Duck, Yosemite Sam, all those things. Those were on
Yeah.
like crazy all the time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but Disney just never did it, which is weird.
Now, Chris, here's one I just saw, and first one was Dungeons and Dragons. I remember that series when it came out. Now, here's one that Chris will get you is I completely forgot about it because I remember watching it as a kid all the time. Heathcliff.
Yeah. It's like the low rent Garfield.
Yes, that's it. Yes, yes.
I mean,
And
it,
let's
it had
see.
its own show, but it was very Garfield related.
Now, it's not Disney related. Well, now it is, but remember Ewoks and droids?
Yep.
Morning.
They meant they mentioned that here. Um, but otherwise, some of the other ones, are I think lasted maybe one season or barely even one season.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of experimentation because I think that there was a lot of money to be made,
Oh,
on
that's it. Yeah,
things like that. So
I'm trying to see if there's any big ones I remember that we missed. I'm sure there's tons of them that
Oh,
I think,
absolutely.
and I remember again, this is 60s and 70s. Remember when they did when we mentioned Super Friends, they did the animated versions of Aquaman, Superman, um, I think Green Lantern. They did and Aquaman was huge for a long time.
the worst character had it was popular.
Yeah, it was popular, and I remember that being on the air all the time. Because I
Yeah.
mean, come on, who could forget it? Him on the seahorse and you know, underwater, and
The
what
rings.
could, yeah, what could you do with that character that made it interesting? But they did.
I remember Plastic Man also had like a
Yes, Plastic
cartoon.
Man. Yes, yes, I remember that. And that was an odd character to have a TV show on.
Yeah, like for a full
Yeah,
block of time.
Yeah.
Like you could understand Superman, Batman, but
Plastic Man. Yes, I remember watching that like crazy.
But he fits in with the sort of Saturday morning cartoon because he was kind of
It
wacky.
does. It does. Because he had that sidekick. Remember the chubby guy? I forgot his name.
Yeah.
oh crap.
The chubby guy with the a drink in his hand, like the soft drink container with the straw.
Yeah, I don't remember his name.
Yeah,
He was
plastic.
like the
Oh, I have one. Remember Falcon and Dynamite?
Yep.
Yep.
That was one of it was one of those super, and I think that was Hanna-Barbera cartoons.
Yeah, that was I think Alex Toth designed that, so that would have
Yeah,
been Hanna-Barbera.
Hanna-Barbera. Yeah, Alex Toth did almost everything for Hanna-Barbera. Hanna-Barbera was, I mean, they had even those what was it Grape Ape and what was the other ones? Uh,
There was a
Grape
whole I mean
Ape.
we talked El Kabong. Um,
Yeah,
there's a whole bunch of them. Yeah, yeah. And we also the Popeye and like the old Fleischer
yeah,
stuff would
Popeye.
occasionally make it
Those
on too.
those were on also.
So we've been talking about like our favorite cartoons and everything like that, and but this is being a comic book centric podcast. Have you ever seen a time where a Saturday morning cartoon transitioned, and we'll say Saturday morning cartoon loose, even more modern, but transitioned to comic books and it actually worked?
Like a cartoon
Hmm.
transitioning into a comic book instead of the other way around.
Yep.
I'm wondering. I know they have Space Ghost comics.
Yep.
I mean, and Johnny Quest comics. I remember those.
Did you ever read them?
Johnny Quest and Space Ghost, I think Comico or something did those in 1980s. I remember
Yep.
having a few issues, so I must have read them.
Yeah.
I
I,
don't
I used to
remember
read,
who did the art or.
yeah. I used to read the Powerpuff Girls comic books almost religiously. Like they were actually really
Oh
good.
yes, DC did those.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I mean,
And I mean,
Flintstones has had comics, and like Casper
and
and like Gold Key did a whole bunch of stuff.
and here's one that goes from comics to animation to comics, Adventures of Batman. That
Mm,
technically was an animated series
Yep.
before it was a comic, and then the comic was hugely popular also.
Yep. And the comic book, I think, was actually drawn by a Canadian. I think it was Ty Templeton that did the first few issues of that.
Yes, I think so.
yes.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
that was yeah, the Batman the animated series. I know that probably isn't Saturday morning, but it's Saturday morning-ish.
That one's hard. That one's hard to gauge because when it came
I
out, they were airing it on Saturday morning, but they were also airing it Monday to Friday. And I think there was a point where, like, within that first year, like they were also doing Saturday nights or
Yeah.
see
Sunday nights.
that I don't remember in the mornings. I remember you're right, Derek. I remember it in the afternoons mostly.
Maybe you weren't up in the mornings by the time it started playing.
Could be.
You
Maybe,
were getting
but I
too
just
old. You're
remember
out
that
partying all
first,
night and you couldn't get up early.
yeah, that first, I remember that first year, it seemed like Batman was on, like the animated series was on all the,
Oh no, I remember seeing it everywhere. You're right. It was on
Yeah.
all the time you turn it on, it was on, but I forgot if it was on in the mornings, but I do remember seeing it like,
yeah, that
throughout the
one.
day.
Well, when they start like running it like 6, 7 days a week right off the bat, it's kind of hard to kind of narrow that one down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do remember that I actually, for a while, enjoyed that comic book more than I liked the regular Batman comic books at the time.
Because it had more fun characters because they had more fun with the book because
Yeah.
hate to say it, it was it was taking the serious side of Batman, but also the quirkiness of the 60s TV show.
Yeah.
We kind of blended both of those in, and
And
Yeah.
that worked.
Harlequin was invented in the TV series, not the comic book.
That's what I
Yep.
remember. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mr. Freeze's origin was redefined in the animated series, and that transferred over to the
Yes.
comic as well.
That was a great episode too of Batman.
Oh,
That was
absolutely.
that was
Those were
amazing.
Oh, absolutely. Actually, I think like throughout that 90s era, like the DC animated comics based on the TV shows, they were getting like in general, like Batman, there was a Superman, a Justice League.
Yes.
Like they were all like getting reviews because apparently like those stories like kind of like those stories in those comics kind of remembered what the other comics forgot. Like you could tell like an epic Batman or an epic Superman story in 22 pages or maybe a two-part tops. Not everything had to be a six-part crossover
Yep.
going on for a
I think
year
that
at a
I,
time.
I think that was later in the like Chris said, after the 90s Saturday morning cartoon, the trend came of, those, serious cartoons for adults type of a thing, where, you'd have continual stories and things, where most of the um, story plots were regular Saturday morning cartoons, where one-shot episodes. Maybe they would continue, maybe two episodes, but that was it.
Yeah.
Right. And it actually kind of worked out better. Like in the 90s, I remember the X-Men show and the first couple seasons were very serialized and those first couple of seasons they would like accidentally air an episode out of sequence with the rest of it, and unfortunately, like you kind of have a hiccup in there.
Yeah.
It is
Yes, that's
noticeable.
it. Yes.
Yeah. It's
Now,
funny because when you look at the Batman thing, it has a lot of similarities to the Superpowers cartoon. Like
Yeah,
the Batman the animated series, you could tell like as far as the story structure, very similar, a little more serious, but like very similar in that there was your villain, there was your good guy, and I mean I think Bruce Timm, who invented the sort of Batman the animated series and all that whole series of cartoons, he was really
yeah.
into superpowers. Like he would admit it. Like I saw a picture of his desk once, and it was full of that superpowers action figures. So
yeah. I think he just took the Super Friends, like the superpowers formula, and kind of like made it a little more serious.
Serious and
yeah,
redefined it, and yeah.
yeah,
Now I just saw a list of something on a list cartoon. I don't remember it Saturday mornings, but I do remember seeing it religiously. Tom and Jerry.
yeah. I think they
Yep.
used to have like really cut down versions, and it would almost be
Yeah,
like
I think so.
interstitials
Yeah,
between. Like you wouldn't see the whole cartoon because
but I
later
do
on, when I
remember
went
it
to
in
study
Saturday
animation,
mornings. Yeah.
when I studied animation, I would actually like we would religiously collect uncut like Warner Brothers and Tom and Jerry cartoons and stuff like that, and they were much longer than I remember them.
Yes, yes. And another one they mentioned on the list I just looked up, and I don't remember seeing. I mean, I remember the cartoon, but I don't remember watching it. Archie's.
I remember that.
I remember the cartoon, but I don't remember watching it.
Yeah, Josie and the Pussycats too.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, that was
For
good.
some
I actually
reason,
liked Josie. Hmm?
I remember Josie and the Pussycats more than like there was an Archie's cartoon when I was a kid that was like kind of more 80s centric, but I never remembered watching the previous show on like any Saturday morning or any
Hmm.
syndication.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's also like I mean the same sort of comic book like Casper and stuff too.
Yeah,
Casper and Richie
Casper,
Rich, yeah.
Yeah.
Richie Rich, Gem and the Holograms.
Gem,
I
Gem
actually
sticks
like
out a
that
little
show,
more.
and I've actually watched it
I
recently, and
say
it
that
actually holds up.
I remember watching that because, and I don't want to say, my sister was watching it, but I remember something about it just watching it. Yeah,
It actually holds
It
up.
was for me, it was a Sunbow show in the same vein of G.I. Joe and Transformers.
that's it. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure. But it's funny because some of that stuff's making a comeback. I mean, even in the last little while, they had a Josie and the
it
Pussycats
is.
live
It
action,
is.
a Gem live action, so and of course the Transformers series.
Now,
Uh,
here's a question. I don't remember what time slot it came in. He-Man and even She-Ra. What time slot? I'm thinking
I
that
think they
was
were
around the
originally
G.I.
Saturday
Joe.
mornings, but then they moved to like because there was enough episodes they went into syndication and played more often.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's what I was
remember
wondering
syndication.
because I'm trying to remember. I do remember She-Ra in the mornings, and I remember sometimes He-Man in the afternoon. So, I don't remember, fully if both came on at the same time.
Yeah. That was part of the whole thing when like Ronald Reagan was, because basically what happened is Ronald Reagan
Yeah, the
passed a
toy
law in the
thing.
United
Yeah,
States saying that you can't advertise to children directly. But then they realized that the loophole was that if you do a television series based on a toy, it's not advertising, it's just a television series and there happens to be a
yeah,
toy that you can buy.
that's it. Yes.
So, that was part of that. And there's a
Now,
lot of, there's a series called the Toys That Made Us. And they do a thing
Yes.
oh
about,
yes, I remember that. Yes,
yeah,
yes.
they do a thing about He-Man and G.I.
Yeah,
Joe and about how they were
yeah.
just designed to be sold as cartoons. Like it was connected. So
Now, to simply, to end the episode soon, I would say personally for me, Saturday morning cartoons consisted of, I would say, Warner Brothers cartoons and mostly Hanna-Barbera cartoons for me.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
And even Marvel, I mean, Spider-Man was a huge thing. Spider-Man and Super Friends,
yeah,
very huge. But Hanna-Barbera and Warner Brothers were the ones I religiously watched.
yeah. And they're the ones that
Yeah.
stuck in my mind. Like I can recite Warner Brothers cartoons by heart almost.
Yeah. Oh,
Uh,
that's it. Yeah.
but even like Superpowers and the Super Friends, I remember enjoying them. But to be honest, again, I couldn't really remember specific episode story arcs as much.
Yeah. But
You
here's
know.
one thing, sorry, you just made a comment, what you guys were talking about, like the Batman animated series and all that, what the, adult theme stories and stuff like that. Johnny Quest had a lot of adult theme stories,
Yeah.
Yep.
but as a kid, they made it interesting enough that you watched it.
Here's a fun little thing we can end on. Uh, there was one year where two of us that are in this podcast right now got dressed up for Halloween.
One was Johnny Quest and one was Haji.
Yes. And I think we won second prize in a costume contest.
We did, and
Oh wow.
I remember walking on Queen Street, and almost everyone who walked past us started laughing because they recognized us.
Oh yeah,
God.
I had a little stuffed dog and everything. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was so funny because people walking by going, "I remember that," you know.
That's the reason we won
It
second
was,
prize. Our costumes were okay, but
yeah,
people were like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you dressed up
yeah,
as that."
yeah.
So,
Everyone just laughed and just remembered that cartoon because who forgets Johnny Quest and Haji and um Bandit, right? Was his dog?
Bandit, yeah, Bandit's
Yes.
the dog.
That's it. Yeah. So who could forget that?
Yeah. I think we can wrap this episode up on that.
That's it. Yes.